welcome to the March 1st, 2022 Human Rights Committee meeting in keeping with the ongoing emergency order from Governor Charlie Baker to limit gatherings and maximize social distancing and under legislation passed to address remote board meetings. During the emergency declaration, this meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by committee members will be remote, and remote attendance shall count towards quorum. The meeting will broadcast live and be recorded on ECAT. So while conducting meetings remotely, we will hope to endeavor to keep meeting operations as close to standard procedures as possible. However, use of this platform will necessitate some additional meeting protocols, including while the committee members will be on video and audio, public participants will join the meeting muted and with no video feed from them. Public lines will be muted throughout the meeting to allow the board to conduct business and eliminate background noise. For general meetings, the chair can solicit public comments. Members of the public participating in the Zoom meeting may submit a written question in chat, provided that they include their full name and address for the public record. The chair will reserve the right to discard comments submitted that are off topic or do not include name and address. Members of the public viewing the meeting on ECAT may submit questions in writing via email to mblanchard@easton.ma.us. The chair reserves the right to respond to questions during the live meeting, but may limit the time for such activities. Any questions not addressed in the meeting may be answered afterward via email and will be incorporated into the minutes of the meeting for the public record. All votes will be by roll call, and when all business indicated on the agenda has been completed, the members will vote to adjourn the meeting, signaling the end of the meeting and the termination of the ECAT recording. All participants will be disconnected from the meeting at that time. So to ensure that we do have quorum, I'm going to ask the committee members to go ahead and identify themselves in alphabetical order, I guess starting with Liz.
Liz Bornstein.
Greg Barger.
I can't see everybody. Durant's, and there's also people in the attendees that are on the committee.
Yep, I'm letting them in.
Devonshire present.
Foster. Person present.
Kristen Hay present.
Sylvia Ramon present.
And present. So I think that's all covered and ready to roll. Starting off with the first agenda topic would be to review meeting minutes. Amy distributed them, or she actually took the meeting minutes and then I shared them with the group. There was just one area that Amy highlighted in the minutes, which we were trying to capture some of Liz's comments around the proclamation. Liz, do you recall if you had a comment, or maybe I possibly cut you off? I was trying to figure out what happened there.
I don't know, but I think the spirit of that discussion is captured fine, and then it's fine to remove that line.
Okay. Any other remarks or changes to the meeting minutes?
I just have a really minor one. Number 5, subsection B, Roman numeral 3. Can you just remove the extra period so it says $450? Right now, it's just a little confusing what the amount is.
I see that. Kelly, do you have that captured? Okay, thank you. All right. Can I get a approval to go ahead and approve the minutes?
Move to approve the minutes as amended.
Second.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and go and vote on that.
Barger, yes.
Bornstein, yes.
Devonshire, yes.
Durant's, yes.
Foster, yes.
Hay, yes.
Lowell, yes.
And thank you. Review. We have approved them. Okay, the March training update. Amy, do you want to give the update? Do you want me to go ahead and start? Add in?
You can start.
Okay. So Amy and I have confirmed the training event with Dr. Liza Solution and Alexandre, sorry, focused on addressing implicit bias in our daily interactions. That's going to be held on Zoom, March 31st, 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. Amy, I know you're working on the flyer. Do you maybe want to give us an update on that?
No, I'm gonna use the comment that was the last one, the discussion and drop this in. I'll get it out.
Do we need to do any kind of event
Yes.
or anything like that?
Yeah.
We do.
I did that for her also, just
Okay, perfect. So once that's done, I guess we'll get that primarily to Kathy, so I know Kathy will share that with our allies. And then we talked about maybe distribution across town to some of our partners. We talked that through, I think, at our last meeting in terms of getting it out to Donna Whitehead and some of our other contacts. Do we need to revisit that, or is everybody feel pretty confident with what we discussed at our February discussion?
I know that, and I apologize for everyone here, I know we emailed, I might chime in here too. Chrissy and Alicia have also asked for a flyer so that they can send it to staff, and then we'll probably have more of a discussion hopefully sooner sometime this week about people who care for teachers.
Yeah, Karen, who else are we sending it to? To the library?
Yeah,
Who else? Who else?
So maybe who's doing what? So it's sort of, everything is taken
Okay. I'm sending it to Donna Whitehead. And I can send it to the next member.
some minutes to
Yes, go ahead.
I don't know,
Oh, I have it open. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So Gershman's going to work on the flyer. We got that down. Foster's going to help with promotions, specifically the ally list, the town crier, and RMK. Gershman will share with the YMCA. Durance will share with Donna Whitehead and the school committee.
Wonder if we could do targeted outreach to town boards and committees. So either Craig through the select board or possibly through Connor, or I guess to us, from us, you know, to other boards and committee members. It would
I
seem
think
that,
I think that's very appropriate. Just I'll have to get the list of all the chairs for the different committees, and then just send it to them.
you know what, Karen, I bet you have that list because on the annual report, they usually include everyone who needs to submit something. So that might be a list to use.
Okay, if not, is there somebody else that we could reach out to who could help us with that distribution?
Yeah, Elizabeth, who is the assistant to Connor Reed, is probably a good person to ask. Yes, Craig?
Yeah, I can ask Elizabeth.
Yeah.
What about having the town post it on Facebook? Can we ask
Say that
them
one
to
more
do
time,
that
Amy.
this week? How about asking can we post it on the town Facebook site? Can we ask someone to
We
post
can
it?
ask the same question of Elizabeth about
Okay,
what the appropriate way to do that. I can ask her to do that tomorrow.
great.
Okay, thanks, Craig. Any other ideas or groups that we don't have accounted for?
Clergy. So there is no current active Easton clergy group. They have kind of gone inactive since the pandemic. I can see if there's a list of who all the representative houses of worship are in Easton. So we at least have contacts, even if there's no central person to disseminate out.
Sure, the rabbi has the names.
Yeah, I can reach out to him.
Is there a limit in the number of, I'm sorry, Joe, is there a limit on the number of people, Amy? No? Okay. All right. I'm sorry, Sergio.
Well, I was gonna ask the same thing, but I was gonna see if I could also put a flyer at my work. The only thing is, it's kind of out of Easton, it's more in the Quincy area. Is that still okay?
So the focus would really be on the town to try to encourage town members to join. I think that's our primary audience for this training. But I mean, I'm open to other folks' thoughts around that.
I think inclusivity is great. I know that Liza is from Brockton, I think, so she also shares with her network. So there's people outside of Easton, and also when you create an Eventbrite link, it becomes public anyway. So I know that we had a few people that were even out of state at the last one. Absolutely, the focus is Easton, and it's sponsored by us. So, you know, but I don't know. I vote for the more the merrier.
So there's no limit on attendance?
No.
And I guess it doesn't
town
hurt.
Zoom link, right? Is there any limit? Somebody tell me, because that's where I got it from.
Is it a meeting or a webinar?
A meeting?
Well, should we ask to make sure that we're not, you know, can you ask Amy if there's a limit?
Yeah, Karen.
I can ask.
Okay.
I can ask.
Okay.
You know, another
I'll follow
option,
up on
I
that.
have a personal Zoom account. I don't know how appropriate that would be, but like if we need to, if there are limits, I think we have options. Last time Liza provided the Zoom link, I think, so we could also.
Yeah, but I think her message, Lisa's message, I think specifically said we had to provide
Yes,
it.
it did. It did.
Okay, I'll follow up with the town just to make sure. I did mention that it was for a trading event and they didn't mention any kind of limitation, but I will follow up just to confirm, and then I'll get back to the group as soon as possible because I know that'll impact the flyer.
And Kelly mentioned that we should, Council on Aging too, is another contact group.
Yep, Kelly, we'll make sure we get that flyer to you, and then you can have that put up
Also,
there.
community boards around town, like Roche Brothers, Shaw's, where people put up flyers of things they're doing in the community.
Amy, will you have a QR code on the flyer? Because I'm thinking if we do Michelle's option and we do a lot of paper flyers, then the QR code might make it more accessible for people.
Okay, let me try to look into it.
All right. I think we have our March training event covered. So by the next time we meet, that session would have already taken place. So we can provide an update on how that went. But we're very excited, very much appreciate Liza's partnership. She's not charging us. There's no charge for this. This is simply her contribution to our team's focus and our committee's focus and our town's focus for that matter. So very excited about that. Okay.
How do we
Awesome.
protect? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Karen.
No, go ahead, Craig.
How do we protect ourselves from some of those individuals who might join in to create problems? I hate to be negative about it, but it always makes me. The more you publicize, the more chance there are people who you don't really want involved. How do we control that, or do we control that, or who controls who joins and who can
I
be,
think
who can be
Zoom
eliminated?
has the option to boot people, so maybe one of us could be kind of in charge of that. If somebody we see is getting out of control, we can exit them and they aren't allowed back in.
So you'll be a co-host. Is that how it works, or what?
Craig, and Karen, maybe we should follow up with whoever created the Zoom link too, because the couple of times that I've done listening sessions or training, that's the whole point of the Eventbrite link, is that people have to give an email address. So you enter all of the email addresses. So it's almost like vetting people before they can even enter the Zoom. So that's one layer of communication.
I think the trans one, there was, the listening session that we did, there was someone who quite honestly had somewhat of a maybe not authentic authorization, and I know that we didn't let that person in.
Okay.
So Amy, I'm not sure I understand the question though. Do we need to figure out what type of, because I think at least the way this Zoom works is you have an email address and you can sign in.
Okay, so we just send the link to the email addresses, so only people that signed up have it. Yeah,
I think so.
The alternative was what Liza did was enter all of the email addresses almost like a buffer. I don't even know how to do that, so let's go with what's familiar.
Okay.
Okay.
So they'll have to register through Eventbrite,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Sign up to the event, and then on the day of or something, we'd send out some sort of message that would go out. Got it. Okay. And then from a kind of facilitation standpoint, do we assume that Liza handles that piece of it, or do we need to provide a resource to do that?
Yeah, I did it last time. She sent a bio. I kind of just wrote up in my own words a summary and just shared it, and gave a shout out to any sponsors or partners who, I think we had a few logos on the flyer. I'd have to double check, like the Y in the library. But if anyone else, I hate public speaking, so if anyone else wants to do it, I'll share that document and they can practice, or I can do it too. It's entirely to the group. It's basically just kicking her off and then she handles the rest.
Do you also say a little bit, didn't we put together something like a little blurb about what the HRC is? We were always going to, yeah, okay. And anybody that wants to join to be an ally, of course.
Yes.
Okay, Amy, I can work with you on that.
Okay, great.
Chat about that offline. Okay, awesome. Excellent, thank you. So that is our March training update. And then we can move on to our proclamation status. So Liz or Kathy, do you want to take that on? I do see we have Dawn and Kristen joining us as well. Do you want me to move them to panelists?
Not yet. Kathy and I can give an update, okay. And then Dawn's welcome to come on and just sort of give a statement and update as well. So Kathy and I met with Dawn Perry and Denise Lane from RMK and had a lot of productive meetings over the last couple weeks. So we sent you a finalized version of the proclamation, and it's been well received by the signatories. We're in the process of moving it around to various signatories. So far, I can share my screen just so we have it up here to review. But tonight would be the vote to have the Human Rights Committee sign off on it. Raising Multicultural Kids has approved. The Select Board approved last night. The Town Administrator has approved. I believe Superintendent has approved. The Civil Rights Officer has approved. And we are waiting on School Committee and Library at the moment. So that is the current status. But it's been a very productive collaboration. RMK and Kathy and I from HRC are very happy with where things have landed, as well as the warm reception it's gotten from the various signatories.
I do have it on the agenda for school committee on the 10th. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I think the library board has it on their upcoming agenda as well, although I'm not sure what the date is. So the plan would be, once we know for certain who the signatories are, then we would put this on some kind of letterhead. I'm working with Dottie Fulginetti to have town letterhead that is from the Human Rights Committee. And once we know the signatories and have the letterhead, we would just move it around for actual signatures.
I think Liz did a really good job of sort of leading the group, putting this back together. And I think actually having the signatories really strengthens the proclamation and makes it more meaningful. And I think the end product, I'm very pleased with.
Excellent. And then from a distribution standpoint, once kind of the signatories have been kind of completed, what would be the thought process around getting visibility to it?
That is the topic of one of our next meetings, and I know RMK was going to be heavily involved in that process, but our first step right now was coming to an agreement on the language and format of the proclamation as well as the signatories, and then step 2 is to move forward with a distribution and publication plan, or publicizing plan.
Great. Great.
And Liz, who's going to take the responsibility to make sure that every member, every signatory actually signs on one document?
The four of us will, between
Okay.
Kathy and Dawn and Denise and myself.
Okay.
We will ensure that happens and doesn't take too long to get the actual signatures.
Okay.
Thank you both for taking the reins and pushing it over the finish line. It's really awesome.
Yeah, it is nice to be here. Everyone we've spoken with really appreciates the thought that has gone into crafting this over the last year, and appreciates the detail in the language. I know Dawn is here and happy to speak on behalf of RMK, so if you wanted to either enable her to speak or move her up as a panelist.
Okay, I just moved her up.
Okay.
Odd to come off of mute. Struggling with. I essentially just wanted to thank the HRC for their collaboration. I think the time we took offline to really have direct communication was what was necessary. I think obviously communicating through emails wasn't productive, and so I really do appreciate Liz and Kathy's time that they took with us to walk through it. Direct communication is always important, and this was a great example of that, and I'm really proud of the work that we have been able to put forward here. So thank you very much.
So Karen, do we need a vote?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Why don't we go ahead and vote on what are we calling this? Sorry, the Easton Proclamation.
I will put it up again.
What's the official name? Okay.
I move to approve the Easton Proclamation on anti-racism.
Second, Barger.
Second, Irene.
Bornstein, yes.
Sorry. Evans-Shari, yes.
Durant, yes?
Foster, yes.
Hirschman, yes.
Hay, yes.
Remola, yes.
And yes.
Great.
Thank you to RMK. Thank you to Kathy and Liz. I'm very excited that we're able to move this forward, and I do think the end product is definitely going to be very impactful. So really looking forward to getting this distributed and gaining some strong visibility across the town for this great initiative. Thank you. Thank you, Dawn, for joining us today too. All right.
Yeah.
Excellent movement there. Thank you. Okay, so next on the agenda is our spring summer event planning. Amy's made some great progress here. Amy, do you want to share with the team where we are?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually don't feel like we've made a ton of progress, but the good news is that I reached out to the executive director of the NRT, and she immediately and enthusiastically said that they would be glad to partner on this, and even offered to help plan. They've got a ton of experience planning these kind of outdoor events. She said that doing something Pride related was something that they've been wanting to do, so that's awesome to hear. And we're gonna hopefully get together with Jen, that's her name, on Friday morning. If anyone wants to attend, I don't have the exact time yet, but I think Karen, you might be free. I know Esme is going to try to dial in remotely. And hopefully we can start the conversation, firm up the dates, and start really planning.
But yeah, I'm so excited about NRT's kind of enthusiasm around, I think there was like a big YES. So, you know, it's going to be an awesome, I think, venue. We know that the space is accommodating to large groups and to also have that covered space if by chance weather is not on our side that day. So really excited about getting that moving. So I guess, you know, from just, we do have that subcommittee and we are kind of moving that forward so folks have interest, because I do think as things start to progress, the more people involved in that, the better it will be. So so definitely let Amy or myself or Beth or Michelle know if you have interest in helping to support that. Okay, excellent. Thank you, Amy. Next on the, any questions from the group around that or before we move forward? Okay, next on the agenda is partner collaboration updates. So I was wondering, Kathy, have you heard anything from RMK around the critical race theory training?
Yes, they are proceeding. They do have a speaker. It's a professor, I think, from the University of Arizona or New Mexico, something like that. So someone who has a lot of expertise in CRT and has presented a lot on that topic. They do not yet have a date, and I want to make sure they know our dates so that we can spread them out. But I think it's most likely, well, it may either be earlier in March or sometime in April, probably in April at this point.
I saw an email yesterday from Denise saying that the speaker is available March 21st. So they're thinking of either March 21st, but again, they're not sure yet because it seems a little bit early. So that may be a tentative date, but they're debating whether if that's too early or maybe a little bit mid-April, early April. So that's basically where it seems like that's what's going on there. Because the speaker's available, but there still is a lot of things to consider, including marketing and getting the word out about the event.
And someone, I don't know if there's contacts in Mansfield. After the superintendent's meeting last night, somebody mentioned that or it was during Mansfield, there's some sort of proclamation that is going around about not teaching diverse subjects in Mansfield. I believe that this person was aware due to some of the posts that had been on a local Easton page as well, but it didn't seem that folks had really engaged. I don't even know what page it was on, but that folks had engaged once that topic was broached. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if Easton, do we legislate how our schools are taught? I mean, if Michelle, you could kind of educate. I didn't think that we as a community could take out some sort of bill and direct our school committee as to what lessons are taught.
I honestly only heard part of that. I'm at robotics and it's very loud. I'm very sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I think there was something going around in Mansfield about directing what can and can't be taught in the classroom, mostly about topics which are divisive. And I was confused because I didn't think that we as townspeople could direct what can and can't be taught in the classroom, number one, but we might want to also, if we have colleagues in Mansfield, they also might be interested in this CRT presentation if we're going to include other people, because it seems that that town is also working through this topic.
It's probably something we could talk, you and I could talk to Chrissy about, because she's kind of in charge of the PD and the curriculum. But as far as at least the post I saw, was about a warrant item, and that's not how that would be handled. I think that's what you're talking about. So
Yeah,
let's reach out to Chrissy and talk to her.
Okay.
What you're talking about, is it a petition, or, I mean, is it, what's your sense of, because anybody in a group can decide they want to petition the school committee or the select board or whatever or something. I mean, but that doesn't mean that they can control. It just means that, is that what you're talking about? Is it a sort of an online petition going around, or what?
I think that I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you. I just think that there is talk, especially just nationally, about school boards and controlling what can and can't be taught in the classroom. How can you actually bring this to a school board for conversation, and then what is the impact from there? So I think in some regards there's a misunderstanding of how curriculum is developed or how it's implemented, and that it's not usually done through a warrant to do so. So
I can just confirm, I saw the post, and it was the idea was to gauge interest about putting an article on the town meeting warrant that prohibits CRT from being taught in K through 12 schools in Easton. And it was modeled after something that happened in Mansfield.
Which is not how that would be handled.
Right.
I mean, it can be, a citizen can put together a petition for town meeting. It doesn't mean that it has any more clout than anything else, but certainly there's citizen petitions all the time for warrant articles.
So is the question whether this has been submitted, whether it is on the warrant for town meeting, and if it is, procedurally, like what the impact would be?
I think there's not really a question. I think it's more of a statement that this had been going on. I don't think that it is on the warrant just yet. And then confirmation from Michelle that no, this isn't how that would actually be done. But I think it does speak to the point of this kind of seminar, this webinar, I think is of interest, not just to people here in Easton, but also neighboring towns as well. If our petition or whatever was proposed is based out of what has been proposed in Mansfield.
I agree. I think that it points to very careful planning for an event like this. And we'll continue to talk to RMK about that as we go forward.
I will say, I think if folks have, it's actually on YouTube, so you can watch it. John Oliver's show did a pretty in-depth analysis of CRT. You can Google it. It was on a couple of weeks ago. I think it's helpful.
Thank you, Beth. Anything else from the school committee meeting that you want to share with the group?
Yeah, I think Denise shared the proclamation. Alicia had talked about it as well, so that was great. Denise read the proclamation. People were very, very excited. One thing that came out is, and we talk about this a lot, is, okay, well, this is, how do we kind of have the town and the school continue to just collaborate and talk to one another so it's that same language? So how do we take the proclamation and kind of cheat sheet it for age appropriate K through 12, right? How do we incorporate this? We have the, the superintendent's goals and values. How can this be incorporated in it so it's not two different issues? So that was one point that was brought up just to, not using the whereases, but instead giving examples that a K through 12 student could understand instead. The other part, which we talked about as well, is then, you kind of have this, how would it be distributed? Could we put it in, kind of different parts of the school? And then also kind of evolving from that conversation, how do we kind of have some sort of our own proclamation in the Easton schools? So there's the Panda Pledge, or, the Hawk Pledge if you're at Moreau Hall. Doesn't seem to be much at the middle school, but then at the high school, there are certain things. So how can we start to incorporate this language that's in the proclamation into the school system? Then we had conversations of basing it on the proclamation, but not looking at all discrimination, not just based on race, but based on gender, based on sexual orientation, and incorporating it. And then we kind of stopped short of having possibly our students, and actually we'll talk more about this the next time, how do you incorporate that into like a chant? So you kind of have the proclamation as your base, and then a little bit more cheat sheety for the K through 12, and then even just like a chant that you have that embodies all of what the proclamation, or even more so of that proclamation and spirit of diversity. So that was a lot of our conversation.
Was there any resolution, Beth?
No, we're still working, Craig. So I think if folks, the proclamation got brought up more towards the end of the meeting, and we've all been working in our little groups. But that was certainly talked about, and that's our homework, is to try to come up with some sort of. So if you folks have wonderful language that, K through 12, or however we can kind of incorporate that doesn't include whereas, we're all for it. I was watching the PC game the other day, and what do they have? Basketball, family, friars. I think there's like 6 or so words. How can we embody that in the 6 or so words that could be incorporated into whatever sports game or chess match that's going on?
That's an interesting idea, and Kathy and I can certainly bring that up when we talk with Dawn and Denise, and Denise will be there, so she'll be sharing the same information. But I would say from the proclamation standpoint, right, like that's the next step. Like, okay, when you go out and start to socialize this, like how do you tailor it for different audiences? How do you anticipate conversations that might come up in response to the proclamation, and what are appropriate ways to respond? Yeah. All right. Well, we'll add that to our agenda of things to start exploring as well.
Yeah, the folks were curious as to how it was going to be distributed. How would across town, across this, across that? What would it be, the actual proclamation? What would that look like? Maybe less legalistic and more, layman's terms.
Well, I wonder if this might be something that we go to the schools with and see if the students might have some ideas around that. Because I think, there's a lot of really talented kids out there who speak the language and know the lingo and know what people will listen to at their age and their peer group. That might be kind of interesting to solicit some of our teens, or, tweens, or even younger than that, for that matter.
Yeah, and I think Ann and I were actually up next, and then it was already 6, so we adjourned, but that was pretty much what we were going to say, is just as we had the students with the art contest, we have no street cred. Like, why don't we go to the students who do? And sometimes think outside the box of who are students that we constantly go to, and maybe instead we try a new audience and see where those folks are. So that's what we were going to bring up over at our next meeting, is let's have the actual students. We can help them, but let's have them kind of drive this train.
I love that. I love that. I also would say, I think so highly of our music department. I wonder if possibly there could be some sort of song that could, or some sort of music piece that might really embody this and kind of take it to the next level. Well, Michelle, come on, you feel it?
Love it.
Do we have a fight song?
think so.
So clearly no, if no one knows the answer to it.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Okay, well, keep me posted or keep this team posted on that, and be excited to help partner there for sure.
Right.
Okay. Any other kind of collaboration activities that we wanted to share with the group beyond RMK or the committee? Okay. Any other action items that we wanted to discuss
Yep,
that we
I
didn't
have
get
an
to cover
update.
today?
Okay. So at the last meeting, we had talked about ordering t-shirts. So I wanted to let you know when I was at the select board meeting last night, and they approved signing off on the proclamation. They also very generously agreed to allot $450 from the Stonehill funds for the purchase of the t-shirts. So that was really good news. So as a reminder, that covers the purchase of 36 shirts at $12.50 a piece. So what we would need to do right now is vote to approve that, as well as a size range, or if you just want me to use my discretion, I could do that, but it would be better if you gave me some guidance about what to order. I spoke with the company we had used before. They currently have about a 2-ish week turnaround, which is fine. I don't see us having a need for them sooner than that.
Okay, excellent. Do we have a motion to approve the ordering of the t-shirt, the Human Rights Committee t-shirt?
Motion to approve the HRC t-shirts.
Durant, second.
Okay, take it to vote. Craig, you want to start us off?
Pardew, yes.
Ornstein, yes.
Dean, yes.
Devonshire, yes.
Durant,
Foster, yes.
Gershman, yes.
Hey, yes.
Oh, yes.
And yes, thank you, Liz. Thanks for meeting with the select board and going, getting that approval.
I
Awesome.
wore the shirt. It was a
Yes,
big
I was going to
hit.
say that put it over the edge. I got to tell you
Yeah.
that for those of you who weren't there or weren't here earlier, the fact that she had the t-shirt on, that put it right over the edge. So
There you go.
Right.
For
Awesome.
sizing, the only thing which we did not account for with the funds is that XX and larger have a minimal surcharge of like a couple dollars per shirt. So if you anticipate that we would need any of those, I think we still have HRC funds somewhere from like selling postcards 4 years ago or something like that. So we can account for it. I'm happy to make a $4 donation to the town. That's not a problem. But I could use some guidance right now on sizing. We can do kid sizes, but it's the same cost as adult size. It's just XX and larger, which is a surcharge.
I think it's important to have a large range of sizes. So I do think we should go up to the XX large if we can. I kind of recall too, like, didn't we get some random donations during the Hate Has No Home sign? Kathy, do you remember that? You
Yes,
might have some cash there.
$20 in cash.
There you go, $20. Let's
There we go.
add that to the surcharge piece. So I think
Liz, I would-
kind of wide range of sizes.
yeah, Liz, I would check with Wendy Nightingale, the finance director. There may be money left over. You may be right.
Yeah.
So we added the 450, but that doesn't mean that if there's another couple $100 there that we can't, ask to utilize that again as well.
Okay.
Especially if if you want to have a variety of sizes and you end up having to pay a little bit extra for the larger sizes.
Yeah. Okay. So does anyone think we need a size smaller than youth large?
No.
I feel like that would be the smallest size I would get.
And I do think like a youth large and then like a adult small is so similar that we probably then would not need small or one or the other. I don't know.
So
we
then
didn't
like
have
do
small
a
part-time.
youth medium for like little kids.
Right.
And then go to adult small.
Right, or straight to medium or something like that. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that the adult small and the youth large is basically the same size.
Yeah, so I would do adult small over youth large. So if we just like, if I say 3 youth medium, 3 XXX, what is that? 630, right? And so then I split the remaining 28 like roughly evenly between small, medium, large, and extra large.
So don't we have a good amount of large and extra large from the first batch?
Well,
I think it was the smaller sizes we didn't have.
We do, but we're not combining those, right? Like that first batch is our volunteer pool that we keep for us for wearing for events with volunteers. And we had oversized those so that we could wear them over coats.
Which we did.
Which is why they're more on the bigger sizes.
Liz, I literally just found an infographic that tells you how to like distribute the sizes.
Fabulous.
Like from a t-shirt site.
So
That does it.
resourceful.
Like I knew there had to be something out there that tells you what % of which size. I'll send it to you.
Perfect. All right, send it to me. If anyone has any particular strong feelings, let me know in the next couple days. I'll also check with Wendy to see how much extra money we have for larger sizes or extra shirts. Does that sound good?
Awesome. Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
Thank you.
Great. I have an unrelated other action item. When we were talking about the training and like publicizing, didn't we come up with a list at one point of like our publication outlets, all the various places we were publicized to, when we kind of started to put contact people on them? If no one can remember if we did it or where it is, I think we need to do it again. So it's a lot simpler. Like we already know who we need to publicize to and who's going to do it.
Yeah, I thought that was maybe Allie and Irene. Were you guys working on comms at one point, right? Where we had talked about, you know, if we were to distribute a message or something like that, that we would have maybe a list of those contacts. Does that sound familiar at all? Irene, I can check with Allie too. Because Irene's like, that doesn't look familiar.
Forget all.
Or maybe just put it as an action item for the next meeting. That we, you know, create this and put it in a format that's accessible for everyone.
That sounds good. Okay, our next meeting will be Tuesday, April 5th. Before that, March 31st, please try to make it to our March trading event. And I think that is our meeting for today, unless there's anything else from committee members. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We move to vote.
Audrey, yes.
Ornstein, yes.
Dean, yes.
Devonshire, yes.
Durant, yes.
Foster, yes.
Gershman, yes.
Hey, yes.
Mo, yes.
And yes, thank you, everyone.
We'll get this right by
meeting.
alphabetical over the next
We're
couple of meetings.
so much better.
I'm thinking by
We're getting good at it,
December,
guys, but we're not there yet. So
Well, we're really like upping our game with roll call voting. I mean, this committee just continues to evolve and professionalize. So.
I agree. Thank you, everyone. Really productive meeting. Some really exciting stuff that we're working on. Have a great
good
night.
night, everybody.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
Work.
Okay.
Thank you.